Well, that concludes our program. Thank you all for coming this evening. It's about to stop after the applause. Most of you know that my tradition is to start these events with some thank yous, and tonight will be no exception. So, Brett, to you and your entire team who put this event on, Matt Helmer and everyone else, let's give all of them a round of applause. In fact, I should share, it has become a part of our family's Super Bowl tradition that after halftime we wait for the inevitable text message from Matt Helmer where he's picked up some part of the Super Bowl halftime entertainment that he now wants to include in the next event. And I mean, typically that frightens me. But I was surprised that Left Shark didn't make it into the event this evening. That's good. I lost a bet on how many of you would laugh at the Left Shark joke. Who knew? Mike Ellis, the executive director of the LSC, and all of your team under the leadership of Dr. Blanche Hughes, who renovated the LSC. For those of you who haven't had a chance to come back and see it before, let's give all of them a round of applause. And I want to publicly thank Dave and Paula Edwards as well, who have once again stepped up with incredible generosity. Thanks to the gift of your home, whoever has the privilege of being the president of Colorado State University will have a place where they can have those great conversations, those debates, those brainstorming sessions that will occur in what is quite literally going to be the living room, the kitchen, the dining room of Colorado State University. Thank you both. And I also want to thank John Morris. John has done nothing more than to step into a challenging leadership situation, roll up his sleeves, get to work, and under John's leadership, we've continued and actually increased the incredible trajectory of Ram athletics. And I think nothing demonstrates this more than a stat that I learned yesterday, that if you look at fall of 2014 and so far into 2015 and include football, volleyball, men's and women's basketball, there is no college or university in the country that has more wins than the CSU Rams. John has also worked very hard behind the scenes in ways that people wouldn't typically see to improve the lives of student athletes, and that's the next group I want to acknowledge. There is, across the country, both nationally and locally, some amount of churn right now about college athletics. But these young men and women go about their business. They get up at ungodly hours of the morning, and they do things with their bodies that I'm not sure should be allowed without a court order. And they do it not always for bowl appearances and tournament appearances, but often for their teammates, for their love of what they do, for their own personal best. And when they're done, they run, take a quick shower, grab a bite to eat, and head off to class. And this year, I am very proud to tell you that the student athletes at Colorado State University have attained a higher GPA than the student body as a whole. And one cannot, at least I cannot, mention student athletes without also thinking immediately following them of our student artists, young men and women who also put in tremendous amounts of time and effort into what they do, often with less publicity. But if any of you get a chance to go see an exhibition, to go see a performance at the University Center for the Arts, you'll be amazed at the talents of these young people. And lastly, no, not for the speech, lastly for the introductory part. I mean, in fact, get comfortable. You've been to these before, you know. I also want to thank Paul Thayer and Barb Musselwhite. On Tuesday of this week, we celebrated the First Generation Awards Banquet, and this is, I think, just an incredibly emotional and powerful and inspirational event. Paul and Barb are jewels to the university, and they have in very many ways created and coined the First Generation program, not only here, but across the country. And when you watch what these young people go through, so many things that we take for granted are for them uncharted waters, and yet they navigate their way through, they succeed, and when they do, they change the lives of generations of their family to follow. So Barb and Paul, thank you very much for all that you do as well. Now, I start with all those things because those people deserve thanks, of course, but also because they demonstrate our theme for tonight, which is commitment. Commitment is a word that takes its derivation going back through French and Old English and into Latin. It has commonalities with words such as pledge, vow, oath, and promise. Promise takes its derivation from the Latin to mean to be assured beforehand. And in that definition, to me, rests one of the most fascinating aspects of commitment, and that is commitment over time. It's one thing for an individual to find that his or her passions align with the goals and the visions of an organization at one point. But for that commitment to endure with all the twists and turns, with all the roadblocks and setbacks that can come into our path, that's something truly special. Because time has this way of breaking vows, of shattering oaths, and of reducing promises to dry, retrospective, conditional agreements. And yet, as rare as it is to see real commitment standing in the face of time, we are blessed at Colorado State University to see that commitment all around us. And I would suggest to you that that's because it comes from the very foundations of this university. It comes tracing its origins back to Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln made a commitment, perhaps even a plea to God for justification for the terrible war he felt obliged to prosecute on behalf of the Union. But he made a commitment that a better Union would rise from those ashes of the 1860s, a Union characterized by peace and prosperity, able to feed its people with a completely revolutionary meritocracy-based educational system. A commitment that arose, as he said so famously on that 19th day of November in 1863, arose from a new birth of freedom. That commitment was so strong that it survived the death of the man who forged it, who carved it into the foundations of America's land-grant universities, who etched it onto the soul of what would become Colorado State. And commitment of that sort, of that strength, of that character, does not fade with time. It becomes stronger, and it attracts more commitment. At Colorado State, we've seen that commitment guide us through world wars, a Great Depression, global pandemics. We saw that commitment when President Morgan created a true university in the midst of immense social change. We saw it when President Yates laid the foundation for the great research university that characterizes who Colorado State is today. We saw it when John Mosley fought through racial prejudice to become a Tuskegee Airman, fighting for people who would have fought against him. And we saw it stand so very proudly when Polly Baca was inaugurated as the first Latina in this nation to serve in a state House of Representatives. I've seen that commitment every time a faculty member makes a breakthrough, a staff member goes above and beyond to solve someone's problem, a student sets foot on this campus and says, "This is where I will make my mark," and when an alum leaves this campus and goes on to live a life of consequence. I see that commitment before me in 4 decades of service to America's land-grant universities by my colleague, my mentor, and my friend, Dr. Mike Martin. Mike, I know that all of us wish you nothing but the best in the next chapter in your journey, which has defined commitment to land-grant universities. And I see that commitment as well in the next table over, in a 3-time alumna of Colorado State University who had a career as an educator, a second career as a leading advocate for educational access, a third career as a philanthropic leader, and has now returned to her alma mater to lead and serve again now as our chair of the Board of Governors, Dr. Dorothy Hurrell. And we saw that commitment at Colorado State in an incredibly special way this fall when we renamed West Drive to Amy Van Dyken Way on behalf of an alumna who has written chapter after chapter on the subject of commitment and who is now writing an entirely new book on the subject. In fact, I would say that in the 6+ years that I've had the privilege of serving as the president of this university, I have seen our faculty, staff, students, alumni, and friends demonstrate that commitment through their work on all of the remarkable successes we've enjoyed at this institution during that period of time. Consecutive years of record enrollment, Colorado's school of choice for high school graduates, improved retention and graduation rates, improved academic qualifications and diversity in the entering class, record after record in research funding, and more importantly than the funding, the breakthroughs that the funding provides, which will allow future generations to feed, to clothe, to sustain, to inspire their world. We've built a campus that will serve generations to come, and beyond that campus, we've engaged communities across this state and indeed across this world in ways that make a difference in people's lives today. The commitment at Colorado State has allowed us to have important conversations about difficult topics such as race, gender, the quality of life for our adjunct faculty colleagues, and our satisfaction, our pride in what we have accomplished is deeply tempered in these conversations by the knowledge of how much work remains to be done. That commitment that we have seen has also helped shore up and strengthen this university's financial foundation. Every single component of our composite financial index is stronger today than it was at the start of the Great Recession, and this commitment has led, as you heard Brett say, to new heights in philanthropy. It allowed us to complete the university's first campaign at over $500 million and set our sights on even loftier goals. And as we sit here tonight, progress toward those goals is lifting this university forward, redefining excellence, and transforming our world. The commitment at Colorado State University has also allowed us to make some modest progress against what is the greatest challenge that faces American public higher education in our age. The ongoing disinvestment in public higher education has led universities to increase tuition to maintain quality, which has led to increased student costs, increased student borrowing, and as we all know, increased student debt. Now at Colorado State University, we are proud to say that we have some of the lowest default rates in the nation. Our debt rates, both in real dollar terms and in pace of increase, are well below national averages. And we have invested over that time over $20 million, much with the help of people like you in this room, into need-based financial aid, into a program called Commitment to Colorado that assures that every young man and woman from this state who has the talent and motivation to earn a world-class degree has the opportunity to become a part of Abraham Lincoln's living legacy. And when those young men and women graduate, then the paying it forward really begins. And I have an entire speech, which mercifully you won't have to hear this evening, on the wonderful return on investment, both individually and societally, that a college education remains today. All of these are fruits of the tree of commitment, a tree that is rooted firmly in the heritage of Colorado State University. At CSU, commitment is a collective good. It's a shared activity. It's something that allows us to stand strong when we face obstacles, because we all know that when we stand before a challenge, doubt creeps up beside us. And it whispers in our ears, you can't. It's too hard. You might fail. There's too much risk. Commitment is what allows you to shake off those doubts and say aloud what you believe. And commitment has freed up this university to ask questions that the minute they're out of our mouths, we know we should have asked loudly and long ago. Why can't we graduate every student? Why can't we cure diseases like tuberculosis and malaria? Why can't we feed our planet? Why can't we expect excellence in everything that we do, from the arts, athletics, and agriculture to zoology, Zeta Phi Beta, and the Zen Club? And if the history of Colorado Agricultural College, Colorado A&M, and Colorado State University are any predictor of future performance, then I can tell you that whoever has the privilege of standing here at whatever point in that future will be able to say to you with pride, this university has never settled for less than excellence. It has never fallen prey to false choices. It has never listened to the whispering voices of cant, and it has never stopped striving, transforming, and changing because it has a relentless commitment to excellence. But, and we all know this, we know it in our hearts, and we know there is no getting around it. As powerful a force as collective commitment is, commitment can only be born, only be brought to life one moment, one person at a time. Each time we take an action, at each fork in the road, each time we decide whether or not to listen to those soft murmuring voices to take the easier path, we make a choice. And in a strange alchemy, the sum of those choices combines with time and is welded into the alloy of our commitment. Now, all of us have weak spots in that alloy. We have times we wish we had addressed a challenge differently. We have times we wish we'd turned to face a challenge instead of turning away. But each of us also has veins of incredible strength in that alloy. Times when we made up our mind, when we steeled our resolve, when we committed ourselves, and when if anyone had looked in our eyes, they would have seen that commitment physically etched upon our soul. There is an old Yiddish proverb that has been reused in many ways that says the eyes are the mirror of the soul. When my eyes look out across this room, I see some of Colorado State University's most loyal supporters, people who have helped us achieve every one of those success stories we've talked about and so many more. I see people who have never allowed this university the excuse of settling or of failure. I see people who have defined commitment. But I also know that it is oftentimes easier to see others more clearly than we see ourselves. And so at each of your places is a small brown bag like this one. For those of you that have not opened it up yet, you can open that up now. Matt Helmer and I had a bet. I believe that signs like this that say, please refrain from opening, are essentially the same as saying open immediately. In that bag, you'll find a small gift from us. It's simple. It's a simple mirror. But it's our hope that it will become a symbol for you, and that occasionally you'll glance into it, and you'll see reflected there your own eyes. And you'll remember in those moments times when your commitment would have been seen by anyone who looked into your eyes. And in those moments, you'll know that you were a part of the incredible story that is Colorado State University, and that you'll be proud of those moments, and that you'll know how incredibly grateful we are for your commitment to stand with us. Thank you very much.